Well, the season rolls along in the racecourse region of KwaZulu-Natal. Last week, Saturday, we had all those features. We had the two guineas, amongst others. And, of course, we had the traditional pipe opener to the serious business end of the features. That was the Drill Hall Stakes. So impressively won by questioning. Well, we've got one big feature to look ahead to, and that is the 2026 renewal of the World Sports Betting, 1900, a grade 3 over the 1900-meter distance. And of course, winning the race can actually sort of bring you to the attention of that panel who decide the final field for the 4th of July, the running of the 2026 Hollywood Bets Durban, July. But before we get to race 7, we've got a lot of races to negotiate. And who better than to help us than Len Mayu? Len, a very good morning to you, and wonderful to catch up with you. And it's an anniversary of sorts here.
Yes, good morning, Cecil. Good to see you back in the saddle again. Right, starting off in the second race, first leg of the Jackpot. My selection here is the 4 horse, Too Fast to Fiesta. She disappointed in her second run after a promising debut, but she was slow on that occasion, slow away, and she took a bump just after the start. And then she seemed to rush up, and she probably just lost interest once all this happened. It was, however, a very strong field, a maiden field. As tag and release, the 4th horse came out and won his next 2 starts. Vibe Check, who ran third that day, came out and won easily at Scottsville in his following start. So I'm expecting a much better run from her tomorrow. The other Cape runner, Boogie, she finished behind Too Fast to Fiesta on debut, but she lost 2 lengths at the start, and I think she's also capable of good improvement. So, and both stables are in form at the moment. So for the Jackpot, I'm sure one of them will get us through. If hopefully both of them, run first and second. But I think we're pretty safe in the Jackpot.
Okay, so 4 and 7, that would be the opening leg of the Jackpot, which starts with a bet with the best maiden juvenile plate for fillies, and they're going over the 1200 meters. The total outlay of 128 Rand, and you've got to be on by 12:30. That is race 2 at Hollywood Bets Grade. Now we move on to the first leg of the place accumulator, maiden plate for fillies and mares over the 1600 meters, and it will be in the ownership of the Hollywood Racing that we have the favorite, and that is Hop Spinner Cop, and that is at 18 to 10. Number 1 Greek Heiress is at 28 to 10, and then you've got 7 to 2 about Annie's Song. Splash of Love is at 8 to 1. It's 10 to 1, and Better Bar those quoted runners. Just to address the numbers in case you are not looking at a form guide right now. The 3 is Annie's Song, that is at 7 to 2, and Splash of Love, that is number 6. That is the horse that is currently at 8 to 1. Right, so the form line that Hop Spinner Cop comes out of is pretty strong. The favorite was just pipped by the winner. Then somebody somewhere made right next time out by winning. And then the next run after that, the post-maiden run, was a good second. And then a horse that ran behind Hop Spinner Cop, that has since come out and won, ran about half a length behind the Hop Spinner Cop. So all things being equal, you found us the right bank in the PA there, Len.
Cecil, you hit the nail on the head. You know, the Hop Spinner Corp, she's been racing against stronger company than she meets here. And there's been multiple winners from all 3 of those form lines. So I think, and now she's going over the 1600, which I think will be more suited to her. So I think she's a huge runner. Then the 1 horse Greek Heiress, she ran below par last time, but she's better than that run. I don't know what went wrong. I see they've taken the blinkers off her tomorrow, so she'll look for good improvement from her. And then the 2 others that can improve is the 2 Skyline Bell and the 3 Annie's Song. Both of you are trying the blinkers tomorrow, so look for improvement from those 2 as well. But I think hard to beat Hop Spinner Cop.
On running since taking a string to the season that has just commenced, underway now in the racecourse region of KwaZulu-Natal. 7 by 3, 2 bankers to start, and then it does get a bit testing. 384 Rand, and the first leg of the PA gets underway at 1:05. Okay, so we get to that first leg of the pick six. It's a WSP Casino at its best conditions plate. It's over the 1600 meters. Legal Counsel, who certainly comes in with some decent form, has been in decent form throughout the calendar year. That includes a very good run in at the Cape Met. And the Legal Counsel was fourth, beaten by less than 2 lengths by questioning, and that was in the Journal Stakes just a week ago, is out. That leaves us a field of 6. Still a strong hand for Justin Snaith. He's still got 3 runners in the race, and just having a look at the one that tops the boards, and that is Note to Self, and that is at 9 to 10. 8 on 18, back in town, a year older. Can it put to right all the disappointment of last year? When I say disappointment, going down by that narrow margin in the July itself. That is your second favorite, and that is at around 11 to 10. Okavango also in good form in the region, 6 to 1, and that completes the Snaith trio. Now, offer the Snaith trio. Need I ask which one are you really siding with, Mr. Len?
Well, Cecil, as you said, Justin Snaith, he appears to have a stranglehold on this race. And I mean, all 3 horses are top quality. I'm starting with the favorite, Note to Self, because he's in receipt of 6 kilos from 8 on 18. And 4.5 from Okavango. But in saying that, I think any one of the 3 could win, but I'm siding with Note to Self. We need bankers in the pick six, Cecil, and we can't put them all in. We've got Andrew Fortune in the saddle, and although it is a touch on the sharp side for Note to Self, I do think that the weight advantage will bring him through. So, yeah, I'm going along with the 3 horses a banker.
Okay, in or out the first leg, and you could be pretty safe given the events of last week. That is Wishlist, who just got the better of Note to Self in the Derby in Cape Town, came through and won over a distance short of his best as well. So perhaps Note to Self, whom people raved about, is an ideal banker. Okay, it's jackpot time. We start our first jackpot with the running of race number 5. Please note, being a 10-race program, we will have our second jackpot starting in race number 7. Now, talking about race number 5, Lucinda Woodruff has another carded favorite, and that is at 28 to 10, and that is the 10. All the Boys I've Loved, to be partnered by Andrew Fortune at first time aboard. Gorgeous Girl, Richard Fareed, 3 from 3 thus far aboard the Tony Riverland charge. He retains the ride and hopes to retain that unblemished record. He is next best in the betting. And thereafter, you've got Happy Fortune, who's been in consistent form at 6 to 1. It is 8 to 1 and a better bar those. Okay, so Mr. Len, 12 Captain's Pride. I'm just trying to see what price that is at 8 to 1. Couldn't that be suddenly a bit of value when you look at the performance of Buttercup Baby in the poinsettia 2 Wednesdays ago? Buttercup Baby ran a cracker then, and Buttercup Baby just hung on from Captain's Pride with Keegan DeMello aboard this afternoon. It was Mr. Mark Sir Jacobson aboard that time. I'm not factoring in the weights and the fact that it was an apprentice, but obviously a bit of ability there.
Yes, certainly, Cecil. You could be right there.
Okay.
But I feel it's a very open race. The 2-horse Pastors Prologue, I mean, she was totally outclassed in the Grade 1 Empress Club Stakes up at Turfentine last time out. She was running with the best filly in the country, double Grand Slam. So we'll just put a line through that run, and she will, now that she's back in Class C, she'll run a much better race. Then you've got the favorite, All the Boys I've Loved. Although she has a slightly tougher task from the draw, she's got the maestro veteran jockey Andrew Fortune in the saddle, so I'm sure she'll run a big race. And then the other Snaith runner, La Landona, she was an easy winner at Fairview last time out, and she must be included. And then of the local horses, Gorgeous Girl, she's in great form at the moment. She's got Richard Fareed up again. So another one to be included. It does go further than that, but for pick six purposes, I've tried to narrow it down to 4 horses. But as you did touch on, there are others in the race, Happy Fortune, Thought Control. So But to try and keep the perms reasonable, I've gone for the 4 that I feel have the best chances.
Okay, and there is the jackpot there. He has covered those 4 horses with a few more in that first leg of the jackpot. 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 12 are the opening numbers for that opening leg. 384 Rand, and that fifth race, fifth of 10, gets underway at 20 past 2. Okay, let's have a look at race number 6 now. We've got the scratching of the 5, Intuitive Spirit. That is a scratching. So leaves us with 6 Fast and Free. That is your favorite, Glenn Cotson, and those familiar souls of the Almanzas, the late estate of the late Mr. Almanza, as your favorite. You've got the likes of the 1 Star of the Future expected to be up there in the betting. The 2 Jazz Festival, likewise, Calvin Abib back aboard for trainer Mark Dixon. Now, why I'm not actually giving you the numerical odds is that we've had the scratching of the 5, Intuitive Spirit, and that is going to result in an adjustment to the betting. Nonetheless, Len, I think you've got your selections all set aside in spite of no betting, given the recent scratching.
Yes, so look, it was 33-1 and it wasn't part of my selection, so not a train smash. But the one to beat here on form is Fast and Free. He had a good local debut, only going down narrowly to Hodgepodge last time, and should again run well. He is, however, 2.5 kilos worse off with the 4-horse Serpentine Fire when the two of them met. So there shouldn't be much separating those two. Then a roughie that I've included, and I think it's a nice price, 33-1, is the 8-horse, the stable companion to Fast and Free. She finished ahead of Fast and Free on both occasions the last time they met in Cape Town. So she just needed her last run, and now that she's back on the turf, I think she's going to be she could be a nice roughie to include. So I've included that, and obviously the 1-horse Star of the Future. I mean, he's got the form as well. So I've included the 4 horses in the jackpot and pick 6.
Thank you very much. 1, 4, 6, and 8 are the numbers for that suggested exact, and you've heard Glenn's play in the pick 6. Yeah, there is no showing. Perhaps there is a claim of sort that has come through, as Glenn points out. The 5 is a big outsider, so that shouldn't be too much of an adjustment to the rest of the field. Okay, so now for the big one on the afternoon, that is Hollywood Bets Greyville, and it is the 2026 renewal of the World Sports Betting, 1900 a grade 3, and the betting has regulation number 8 from the Snake stable as your 13-10 favorite. Trust from the stable of Candice and Tammy Dawson is at 22-10. Rigid Free retains right on ahead of the facts. That is number 3. That is at 8-1. Renews rivalries with the 10-1 shot, and that is Holding Thumbs, who is at 10-1. Native Ruler, another snake runner with Mr. Fortune aboard. I do believe that is at 11-1. It's 12-1, and better bar those. Of course, there is benchmarks for the weights of the race itself, and 60 would be the 4 Holding Thumbs and the 6 Ultimate King, which, given the conditions of the race, would render it worse off with its previous conqueror. That is the 3-8 of the facts, Len.
Cecil, yes, the World Sports Betting 1900 has attracted a good quality field here. My vote goes to regulation. You know, he was desperately unlucky last time in the Anthony Rupert Grade 2 Premier Stakes, where he flew up to run third behind Okavango and I Salute You. You know, he couldn't get a clear run until it was too late, and he was really doing low flying at the finish. So if he's in that frame of form at the moment, I really do think he'll be hard to beat. I did cover him, however, with the 10-horse Trust, because he's really is an above average 3-year-old, and he looks to me to be the biggest threat. I'm going with those two.
8 and 10, that is the 4-year-old and the 3-year-old respectively. Trust certainly not disgraced in the recent championship here on the Highveld. That is in the colours of Mr. Player, which obviously will be one of 2 in Mr. Player's silks, those familiar black silks, to the other being the 4 holding thumbs. 8 and 10 for Len in that first leg of the final Jackpot race 7, being a 10-race program, and that is off at 3:30. That is the 2026 World Sports Betting 1900, and that should be quite a spectacle, as Len suggested in his preview. Right, we move on to race number 8, which will be a last chance to get a pick 3 on, and it could be a good return if you get those equations right. Miss World being the favorite at 32-10 plus 4. Another in of the Player Sooks, another from the Candice and Tammy Dawson stable, is at 33-10, 4-1. And that is Umzingeli Wenyati. Don Kirari, that is the 4, is at 11-2. And thereafter it's 15-2 rather, and a better bar those. All right, so which route are you guiding us into as far as race number 8 is concerned, Len? This is a B Stakes, and that is over the 1,000 meters.
Cecil, this is a wide open race, and I feel that most of the runners are capable of winning on their day. The ex-Cape filly, Miss World, who's now in the care of Adam Azzi, she's very decent, and she bounced back to winning ways last time by scoring very easily. And it was a long overdue win, and most of her career she's raced against strong opposition. So she's a filly that I feel, now that she's clocked up her second win, I think there's quite a few more left in the tank. So for me, she is the one to beat. Although having her first run at Greyville, if Greyville doesn't agree with her, then the race becomes wide open. And, for that matter, I've covered her with quite a few runners here. Sometimes the Greyville track doesn't agree with certain horses. I remember many years ago, a horse called Heir to Riches of Ralph Rixon's. He took it to Clarewood. He won by about 10 lengths. He took it a week later to Greyville, and it ran a miserable 4th. Then he took it back to Clarewood a couple of weeks later, and it won by 8 lengths again. So, Greyville does sometimes catch them out. But so that's the reason I've covered her.
Indeed, comes in with a very decent form. Indeed, Tulip Fields, whom it beat by 3 lengths, has since come out and won. And then in a grade 3 recently at Scottsville, that was in the poinsettia, that also ran a very decent second to the winner then. So that is Miss World first choice, but covered with a few others, a 10-runner field. And we should be off with that first leg of the last pick 3 at 4:10. We move on to the conclusion of the pick 6 and the penultimate event of the afternoon, which gives you a chance to get involved in a double. Now, this is a WSB Aviator Class 4 over the 1,200 meters. Now, as far as the betting is concerned, Red Bomber, that is Keegan DeMello for Addison Wright, and the various ownership, including Messrs. Sugulam and the Verner's family, that is your favorite at 5-2. 3-1 is number 7, and that is the Mask. Mighty Zambezi, that is next best in the betting, that is at 33-10. 9-2, about Super Fast, that is the 5. It's 6-1 and a better bar those. Well, the betting tells the story quite tight at the top, but the Mask broke many hearts in that apprentice handicap a few weeks ago. And we'll hope, let's hope people can get something back. Or do they say they missed the wedding, they won't go to the funeral?
Yeah, so look, there's only 8 runners, but it's very competitive. I'm siding with the 5 horse here, Super Fast. He was only nabbed late last time by Master of the Desert over the course and distance. And he loves that course and distance at 1,200 on the poly. So he'll run a big race. Then the 3 horse, Mighty Zambezi, he came back to best last time with an easy win. So he must be respected. The 1 horse, Freedom Fighter, he looks to have a lot of ability, and he was desperately in need of his last run. And if he doesn't need just one more run, I think he'll be right there. Red Bomber, you can't ignore him. And as you mentioned, the Mask, he's also on his day, he'll be right there. But he seems to be a little bit inconsistent.
Good from Malen there. Super Fast could be the one that does the buying and bidding, as Sheldon would say, in a race number 9. 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, and that is a trifecta box suggestion for that penultimate event. We round up proceedings with Class 3. That'll be over the 1400 meters. We should bring the curtain down on racing at Hollywood Bet's Greyville tomorrow, and that would be at 20 past 5. The favorite is What a Fortune, and that is from the stable of Candace Bass, and that is the Santa Claus Milano Serena Moodley aboard, and that is currently at 33 to 10. Halala is also at 33 to 10. It is 9 to 2. JP's Palace, it's 11 to 2, and better bar those. Well, this is a nice race to round off proceedings. It's not trappy. Some nice sorts have proven themselves. Not going to Hollywood, but certainly very decent horses to own.
Cecil, I made it a very competitive race. A horse like Almo Fatty, he's ideally course and distance suited. Richard Faris only had the one ride on him where he won on him up in Joburg. Then JP's Palace, he was a bit outclassed by Akavanga last time, but he'll run a good race in this company. So, and then also look for improvement from the 2-horse Safe Travel. He's now been gelded, so I expect improvement from him. And obviously, What a Fortune. He's probably the right horse in the race. Just has a bit of an awkward draw to overcome, but they're all in with big chances. And then even the 8-horse Halala, who was, I think, his joint favourite at the moment. He was an easy maiden, but he hasn't run for quite a while. He hasn't run for 258 days. So I would have thought he would need a run, but trainer Dean Caname is a master at getting them right after a long layoff. So he could quite easily follow up on his easy maiden win. So for me, it's a very, very tricky race.
So much for your input. As I said to you off air before we started, you've got your hands full, but I think you've cleared the picture somewhat for us, and we hope we have a great day's racing. That is Hollywood Bet's Bet racing. The last 2 races, by the way, being on the poly track, the remaining 8, the preceding 8, all on the turf. That is a meeting that starts at 5 to 12 on Saturday, and that is the 9th of May.